Think about if you lived to 800 years old. You'd be like, let's get to heaven sooner than that. But, hey, it does come up. How do you like that? If you actually lived to 800 years old, then how old would you be when you were 200 years old?
200.
Yeah, 200, right. That's good. All right. I'm glad you guys do math. No, the idea is you'd still be a youngster, right? At 200, you'd have lived 1/4 of your life, which is probably equal to 25, maybe? 20, 22, something like that. 22 years old, and you'd have lived 200 years. You'd be able to have seen 200 years worth of cycles going through, and you would have seen children being raised and even grandchildren and stuff like that, and you'd be able to say, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do life that way. I'm going to do it this way. As a young person, you would have seen just different careers, and you'd say, okay, I'm going to try this for the next 50 years and see what happens. Not worry about it. But you guys are on a race right now. You are on a race, and you have no idea. Because everybody is telling you this, and everybody is saying, life is short, right? How many people have told you? Has anybody here been told life is short? Yeah? You don't believe it, do you? You just don't believe it. When you're young, when you're that young, you're like, yeah, right, okay, I've got all this time in the world. I'm only, I don't know how old everybody is in here. The average age looks to me like, if you don't count us, right? I don't know, maybe 18 years old, maybe, something like that. I think so. And you're 18 years old, and you're looking forward at your life, and you're saying, I'm just started. And I'm looking at you, and I'm saying, I remember when I was 18 years old, and it just seems like yesterday. It doesn't seem very long at all. And life just flies by. Somebody said a day is long and a year is short. I don't know if you don't believe me. See, I'm saying the same thing that everybody else has told you, and you're looking at this old guy, and you're saying, no, I was you not very long ago at all. Not very long ago. I tell my children, has anybody here written a book? Who's 19 years old? 19 years old, raise your hand. If you're 19, raise it up high. High. I'm not 19. I can't raise my. Simon says, raise your hand if you're 19 years old. Okay. You guys, 4 or 5 of you in here, have you guys written a book yet? You need to. Because now is when you're 19 and you know it all, and you can refer back to it. Because you have life figured out. You know exactly what life is all about at this point. And as you get older, you lose that, and you want to be able to refer back to that book. Jobs, work, and growing up. Okay, so you came to this class not only because it was the dark brown color, right? Because it is on your program. It's dark brown, so it's supposed to be for you. I'm walking with my 2-year-old I guess he was 4-year-old grandson at the time. I'm walking with him, and he says, Grandpa, do you know everything? I said, no, I don't know very much, and the older I get, the less I know, the less I think I know. And he looks at me with this sort of pitiful look. He's like, well, Grandpa, I know everything. Then he says, well, Mommy says, which is my daughter, Mommy says that only Jesus knows everything, but I know a lot. So I'm like, okay, Scotty, we're going to ask you next time we have some. Anyway. A mentor situation is very simple. It's just a situation where you're going up to somebody who's older than you, who knows something that you don't know, and sometimes it's just learning. It's just trying to figure out about them and find out who they are. It's not really very complicated. How do you start a mentoring situation? You know how you start a mentoring situation? You go up to Hunter over here and you say, Hunter, those are really bright blue shoes. I don't know how to wear bright blue shoes. Would it be okay if I followed you around a while to find out how to wear bright blue shoes? And he says yes. How do you like that? How many of you guys, most of you guys are going to be in a church, right? Everybody's in a church of some sort? And you have some men or women, men and or women, either one. You've got some men or women in that church that are older than you are, right? What was Rehoboam's problem? What was his first mistake? Yeah. Yeah, he didn't listen to the old people, did he? He, what?
He sought wisdom from his peers.
Yeah. You remember the story? Does everybody remember the story more or less? You got, it's Solomon's dead and Rehoboam's in place, and the people come to him and they say, you know what, taxes were high. They're too high. We want to lower the taxes. And Rehoboam says, I think that the rich ought to just pay their fair share. And Nobody's into politics here. Okay. And he goes, and the older men say to him, you know what? It's right. Your dad was really tough, had high taxes, and it was terrible. And what's on now is let's lower the taxes a little bit and let's make it a little easier on everybody. And then he goes to his peers. His peers are the people that are the same age as he is. He goes to his peers and he says, hey, what do you think I ought to do? Anybody remember? What does he say? What do the peers, his equals, his same age, classmates, what do they say? Yeah, your father punished you with, did he say fire? Is that what it was? Something like that. He says, but we'll do it with scorpions, right? It's like, you're going to be tougher. You're the king here. You just make up your own rules. You just do whatever you want. And I was reading a business management book that was written by Navy SEALs, and it's very interesting. They had one statement in there that was really interesting, and they say, in any kind of battle, what you cannot forget is that the enemy has a vote. Does everybody understand what that means? That means, I can decide what I'm going to do, but you guys, even in this class right here, even in this conference, I can decide what I'm going to say, but you guys have a vote. For example, I'm asking you questions. For another, everybody can just get up and leave if they want to. So I'm not a dictator. I can't control what's going to happen here. It's not up to me to do that. And so the enemy has a vote is very interesting. And that's what happened with Rehoboam, is the people had a vote. And when he came out and he said that, he said, I'm going to be your dictator. I'm going to be even harsher. I'm going to do it even harder. Because he was following what his peers said. What did the people do? They rebelled. How many tribes left? 10. 10 tribes left. What tribes remained? Anybody? Testing your Bible knowledge here, yeah. Benjamin and Judah remained. He lost 10 out of 12. 10/12, which is what? 5, 6. That's as far as we can go, right? 5, 6. He lost 5/6 of his kingdom because of that, because he listened to his peers. One of the biggest problems in life is you guys go around and get advice from people that are the same age as you are. You say, what should I do? And this happens a lot in a school, and a lot more in school than in homeschool. It can happen in homeschool too. You go to your peers and you ask them for advice. What do you think this should do? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And guess what? They have as much life experience as what? As you do. If I could go to Noah after he had lived 500 years and say, what do you think about this situation, Noah? I would get a lot better information. Because he would have seen that happen. He would have seen it happen. They talk about older people. How many of you guys followed that whole thing about the airplane landing in the Hudson River? Remember that? You remember all that? They attribute the fact that nobody died. Yeah, they lost the plane, or at least they had to rebuild it. I don't know, whatever. But they attribute that to the fact that the pilot, the co-pilot, the head stewardess or whatever, the cabin crew were all elderly. They were all older. And they were all able to make us old people, we cannot beat you guys at quickness. You guys can make decisions much faster than we can. Your brain will slow down, unfortunately, but that's true. And I know other people have told you this. Your brain will slow down. Here's where we do beat you, though. You know where we beat you? Is we discard 90% of all of the decisions that you're going to go down. So you'll go down 1,000 roads to try to find the answer. In the meantime, we discarded 990 of those. We say we only have to look at these 10, and we can do it a lot easier. And that's where wisdom comes in. That is wisdom. Wisdom is the application of the biblical principles to real life. It's like, I know I shouldn't do that because I already made that decision. I've already seen where that road goes, and I'm not going to go down that road. How many of you guys have been on a trip and you make the wrong turn and you're like 20 miles now down the wrong road? You done that? Me too. Only when my wife gives me bad directions, though. Now you go down there. You're 20 miles down the road. Now you have to backtrack. You've lost 40 minutes and you're only back to where you started. It's not fun. And that's why you go up. That's why you want to mentor, because you want to go over into somebody who knows more than you do, and you want to sit at their feet and you want to try to learn from them. Are you going to be exactly the same as them? No. Because guess what? They're sinful too. And they're foolish too. And even at my age, which is 55, and you're like, whoa, he's ancient, you know. My kids tell me when I say, well, when we were young, and they're like, yeah, is that when you were writing on stone tablets and stuff? And it just comes back to me because I used to say that to my parents. So, but what's going to happen is we're foolish and we're sinful as well, but we have made mistakes. Anybody know the difference between wisdom and experience? You know the definition of the difference? No, not the dictionary. No, the one I have in my head that I want somebody to come up. You guys probably have it. Raise your hand if you have it. Experience is learning from your own mistakes, and wisdom is learning from other people's mistakes. You see the difference between those two things? It's like I got lots of experience, guys. I've made lots and lots of mistakes in my life. Okay, but wisdom is when I can go to somebody else who's already been down that road and say, does this end well? Is this what I want to do? Is this the way it should be? So now let's say you set up a situation. You're like, when is this guy going to get into his presentation? Well, I'm here. But let's say you're going to set up a situation where you've gone up to somebody in your church or something like that, and you want to learn about it. So what kind of thing, Hunter, I'm picking on you because you have the blue shoes. What kind of thing do you think you want to do with your life? Full-time ministry. Okay, that's good. Let me pick on anybody else. What do you want to do with your life? Firefighter. Okay, that's good. What do you want to do with your life? Missionary. Okay, all right. All right, so, but it could be anything. My son he got a double major in college for business administration and finance. And he was thinking that he wanted to be a CF, what do they call it, a CF something? Certified Financial Planner, CFP. He was thinking he wanted to be a CFP, Certified Financial Planner. So when he was in high school, when he started thinking about this and started going down that road, then what I did is I went to my church and I found a couple of people who did that. Does anybody know what a CFP does? Anybody in here know what a CFP? No? What they do is they help you invest money. Mr. Weir, who spoke earlier today, he's a CFP. He's a Certified Financial Planner. And you come to him when you get older and you have more money to invest, and you say, help me with my life plan here. Help me invest my money so that the tax man doesn't take all of it and so that it can grow. So it could be stocks and bonds and all kinds of different financial instruments. So what I did is I set it up so that my son could then go with these CFP people from our church and spend a day learning about their business. And he did that. And it's really easy to do. All you have to do is go up to the person that you're targeting and say, Mr. So-and-so, my name is such and such, and I would like to be able to see what you do on a daily basis. I would like to be able to follow you around. But a lot of these jobs that you think you want to be, like well, somebody said firefighter, right? Which is fine. I mean, I'm not knocking it, but when you're a little kid and you think you want to be a firefighter, you think you're going to be out there fighting fires all day. And what do firefighters do for 99% of the time? They sit around. They sit around waiting for a fire to happen. I mean, that's what they're doing. So by going to a fire department, and saying, "Can I follow you around for a day, or can I be there for a while? Can I just learn about this thing?" And you know how few people, you saw that when I said how many people have done this, there's only like 4 of you guys. Do you know how few people come up to me and say, "Mr. Tucker, can I learn about your business? Can I learn what it is?" You know that? And I get hardly any. Do you know how many times I would probably say yes when somebody asked me? Pretty much every time somebody would come to me and say, "I would like to follow you around. I'd like to learn about your business. I would like to learn." My nephew, which, okay, fine, he's family, but my nephew, my sister-in-law came to me and said, "I want my nephew to go and be in your business one day a week for a semester of homeschooling. Just take him to work with you and let him see what it is." And I said, "Fine, I'll do that." And so she would bring him over in the morning. I'd take him over to work. He'd sit down in the office with me. I'd give him books to read. We'd sit down. We'd discuss it. We'd do stuff like that. That's what I'm talking about here when I'm talking about mentoring. A mentoree, being a mentoree. Your first step in being a mentoree, and that's why I haven't gotten into all this stuff, is because your first step in being a mentoree is doing what? You have to ask. You have to go up to somebody. And 99.99% of the people, particularly in your church, in your Christian community, we'll say yes because nobody ever asks us. And you might feel a little intimidated, right? Going up to somebody who works for a living, or in my case, somebody who owns a number of businesses and stuff like that. You might feel a little intimidated coming up to me and saying, Mr. Tucker, can I follow you around for a day? And by the way, I'll probably buy you lunch too, But you know what? We love it. Because when somebody comes up to us and asks us, we know that you are serious about your life. And we know that you want to learn something. And if you put yourself in that situation where you want to learn, we are going to be very happy to try to teach you. And that's the way it is with most of us old guys. We would love to have somebody follow us around. And we would probably fall over ourselves doing stuff for you too. It's amazing how much you can get. What's the fastest way to make friends with somebody? Imagine this scenario. Here's the scenario. You're walking along the sidewalk, and there's somebody over here out in the street, and they're changing a tire. Or they're sitting there and trying to figure out how to change a tire. And you walk past them. What do you usually do? Now, you guys as good Christians are going to say, oh, we offer to help. No, that's not true. I know it. Okay. What do you usually do? We usually do the same thing as the priest or the Levite, right? We go over here. It's like, I'm busy. I got, I know, a guy looks a little weird too. You walk past him. Now, imagine the same scenario, but this time, as you're walking, he or she looks up at you and says, I don't know how to change a tire. Could you help? What happens in your mind? What goes through your mind? Are you still thinking this is a weirdo? This is a crazy guy. I don't want to get close. What's going through your mind? Doesn't it change your whole demeanor? It's like, whoa. That will too. I'm needed. He's no longer a strange guy. He's now somebody who actually wants my help, and I'm Mr. Superman. I know how to change a tire. So I can feel good about it. Do you understand what happens there? Do you understand that psychological thing? That changes because the person asked you for help. Same thing for you guys. You guys put yourself in that situation. Go up to somebody and say, can you help me with life? And the person that wouldn't even give you a second glance because he figures you're busy with your peers and you're busy listening to your music and you're busy off playing your video games and your computer games is going to say, whoa, of course I'll help you with life. What can I possibly do for you? Now, that's step one. Wow, we got to one slide. How do you like that? So, your next question is 10 B's of a mentoree. Notice I have B's on every slide. You got that? That's cute, right? Everybody say, ah. Wasn't quite loud enough. 1, 2, 3. All right, that's better, yeah. This is a choir room, right? All right. So, be inquisitive. First thing is, let's say you went through that and you asked this person, you said, I'll use myself as an example, okay? That's easiest. So let's say you came to me and you said, Mr. Tucker, I would like to learn about life from you. I would like to learn about your business and stuff. I'm going to say, cool, that's great. Come. Let's set up a time when you can come and you can visit and you can see it. And I'll take you with me. Oh, okay, such and such a day. Let's say it's next week. First thing I want you to do, by the way, if you want a copy of these slides, just send me an email and I'll send them over to you. First thing I want you to do is be inquisitive. I want you to go to my website. What's my website? Anybody? Guess. Whoa, clip.com, somebody said. How did you know that? That was really good. It's on my shirt, maybe? Maybe. Clip.com. So the first thing you would do would be what? Go to clip.com. Why? Why are you going to my website? Why do I want you to do that? Yeah? Find out about me. Isn't that going to be good? I mean, you're about to find out about how I live my life and everything. The first thing is, why are you going to sit there and say, well, what do you do, Mr. Tucker? And I'm like, what? That's what you value my time at? You just want me to sit here and explain the very basics that you could have read about if you just would have gone to my website? You get the idea? So you want to be inquisitive. You want to research the company or the person. You want to write a cover letter if you're asking to go there. You write a cover letter to them and you say, here it is. Let me tell you a quick story about what happened to one of my nephews. Had a nephew, and he was studying law. He was going into law school, and he said, he says, I can't find an internship. anywheres. And I said, well, who would you like to intern for? And he said, I'd like to intern for this family lawyer over here. Family lawyer does adoptions. He happens to come from a family that has 4 white kids, which are natural born, and 7 black kids, which are obviously not naturally born, adopted. Nothing wrong with that, except for that it's pretty obvious, right? You can pick out the parents. It's like, there it is. And I said, well, what did you do? And he says, I called them, and I said, I would like to intern for you. And they said, there are no openings. And he says, okay, so I went on. I said, why did you stop there? He's like, what do you want me to do, Uncle Dave? And I said, what I want you to do is I want you to research him, and I want you to write him a cover letter, and I want you to include a picture of your family in that cover letter, okay? So he's going to have an envelope. It's going to include a picture of his family. It's going to be a letter that says, I saw your website, all these things about you. This is why I would like to intern with you. I love adoption. I love what's happening, and I've lived through it. I can help you talk to the parents of the potential, adoptees, and, blah, 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 blah. So we worked it up. And he sent it, and we put it in a FedEx envelope. This was years ago when FedEx was really expensive, and it was rare for you to get a FedEx. So he put it in a FedEx envelope, and he put in the cover letter, I'm going to call you on Thursday at such and such a time, like 12 noon or something like that. I'm going to call you on Thursday at 12 noon. So they received it on Tuesday, mailed it on Monday. They received it on Tuesday, and he's like, well, is this really going to work? And I said, well, wait and see. And so he calls them on Thursday. Remember, they'd already said no, they're not accepting any interns, right? And then he calls them on Thursday at noon, at the time he was supposed to, and the lady picks up and says, oh, you're the FedEx? You're the guy who sent the picture of the FedEx? Yes, Mr. So-and-so really wants to talk to you, but he had this business meeting. He tried to change it so he could talk to you and talk to you about an internship here, but he couldn't change it, so he regrets it, but could he please call you back at 2 p.m.? Do you guys see what happened? The tables turned completely. Guess where he ended up interning that summer? Right there. Why? Because all he did was call him up and say, do you have any internships? And the secretary had been told to say, what? And what did she say? And he said, okay. So the first thing you do is, if you're going to get an internship, pick the one you want and then write the cover letter or get ready for it. So before you ask Mr. Tucker if you can go and see what he's doing, and sure. Okay, you're going to explain to him why you picked his company to go and what it is special about you that you want to learn about him from that one. And when you do that, boom, you've just gone to the top of that scale. If you're ever looking for a job, by the way to look for a job is not to send out a bunch of resumes. The way to look for a job is to go out there and find a company you would want to work for if you're going to be an employee. Find a company you want to work for and then pursue them and tell them why you are going to be able to help them attain whatever it is their goal is. And show them that you are particularly suited for this. And they will hire you. Why? Because nobody does that. So, find the best fit for your goal. Figure out what you want. Next one. So first is be inquisitive. Second is be quiet. Oh my goodness, I've had so many people, employees mainly, not mentorees, but employees that have joined my company within the first day or two, they want to tell me how to run my company better. I'm like, really? I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm pretty successful, and you're going to tell me how to run my company better? One time we were at a graduation at Pensacola Christian College, and this lady graduated. She's like, yeah, I got a business degree. She stands up and she gives her a little speech. She says, I got a business degree, and I am now qualified to go around and help business owners get their businesses much better because of the education that I have received. And my wife and I look at each other and say, you go, girl. Because you studied 4 years. You didn't even study 4 years of business. You studied maybe 2 years of business. And you're going to come in here and tell me how my business is going to do a whole lot better because of some professor somewhere that hasn't run a business ever before in his life. Yeah, no. So the first thing is be quiet. The second thing is be quiet. First, be inquisitive. Ask questions. Second is be quiet. You are not here to tell us how to make our company better. You might have some good ideas. Shut up. There might be a lot of things that you can do. Shut up. Just be quiet. You need to hold in any and all suggestions for, I say, at least 3 weeks. This is a long-term mentorship, I'll say. Okay? If you're only there for a couple days, then just shut up and learn. You've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? So we're supposed to listen twice as much as we talk. That doesn't work for me, but it'll work for you guys. So the first thing is just be quiet. Hold it in. Don't tell everybody how great you are at this point. Just sit back and be a good mentoree then. Third, be humble. Simplicity is on the far side of complexity. Anybody heard that saying before? Let me explain it to you. Go back to the blue shoes. All right? Everybody see the blue shoes? There you go. Okay, has anybody looked at those shoes and said to themselves, how hard can it be to make shoes? Have you ever said that? Yeah? How hard can it be to make shoes? See, that's a simplicity on the near side of complexity. Near side meaning it's here where we are. We look at stuff like that and we say, oh, that can't be so hard. I mean, what's so hard about that? Okay, now you start understanding what it takes to make blue shoes. Who here can tell me how to make blue dye? Oh, nobody. We already got there. Oh, you're close. Okay. For very long. So basically, we're already stumped. I asked one question, we're already stumped. Okay, who here can make synthetic rubber? Who here can make the mold that it goes in? You know, the mold has to be taken apart. You put it in the shoe, you have to take it apart. It has to have a certain amount of tensile strength. Now, who can make the shoelace? Anybody here know how to make a shoelace? No, we know how to go down to the store and buy a shoelace. Do you get that? There's this study that they did for a long time ago. They say there's no one single person in the world that knows how to make a pencil. Really? If you read it, it's really interesting. Because you think about it, okay, what's involved in a pencil? Think about a yellow pencil. What's involved? Somebody, tell me something. What? Huh? Graphite. Where do we get rubber in the eraser? A little bit of brass to hold that eraser in place, right? So where do we get graphite from? Well, you got to learn about mining, right? You got to know where we're going to get it from and how do we purify it? How do we get it out? And how do we put it into a round cylinder that'll fit in there? And then how about the wood? What kind of wood is a pencil made out of? It's not pine. It's a type of cedar, yes. It's a type of cedar. So now we have to figure out, okay, where do we get the cedars from? How do we cut them down? Oh, wait, how do we cut them down? We need to know how to make a chainsaw. Are you with me so far? Then we need to transport that wood. So we need to know how to make a truck and highways. And then we need yellow paint. Are you with me? We need to make a bucket. What? Yeah, what kind? Incense? All right. Well, see, somebody in this room knows even what kind of cedar. Do you guys see that? Okay, so how simple is a pencil now? Yeah. It's no longer easy. How do we make blue shoes? Anybody want to say, yeah, now I know how to make blue shoes? Anybody? Anybody want to be brave and raise their hand? You see, that's the way life is. That's the way life is, and it's a great life lesson for you to learn. Things look easy. How many people watched any of the Olympics? How in the world, think about all the details involved, how in the world do we turn on some piece of plastic and glass like that, and we actually see somebody running, jumping, swimming, down in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and we see it, and there's probably a 10-second lag on it for us to see the live thing. Anybody think through that? How in the world does that happen? Are you with me? You see how complicated that is? It's like CCV, I think, is what we use to capture the image, and lenses and satellites and radio waves and It's amazingly complex. So, be humble. Simplicity is on the far side of complexity. Now, what does that mean? If you guys looked at my business, do you think at first it would look simple? We write software to manage landscape companies. Is that simple? Yeah, sounds simple, right? We write software to manage landscaping companies. Once you opened up my code, the software that I write, you would find out that there are multiple millions of lines of code in there. Whoa, multiple millions of lines of code. And that's not counting the marketing that we do or the tech support or any of the other things that we do. Now, if you asked me, how hard is it to create a software company that writes business management software for landscapers, what do you think I would be able to say to you? I would be able to say, it's hard, but it's not that hard. Why would I say it's not that hard? Because I've been doing it for 30 years. True simplicity is on the far side of complexity. So when I look at those shoes, I say, oh, they look simple. That's not true simplicity. When I actually did understand exactly how to make them and how to make the blue paint and how to do the rubber and how to do all that kind of stuff, then I would be on the far side of complexity. At first it gets very complicated, doesn't it? And then you start to understand it and it starts to become simple, and that's true simplicity. So remember that. That's a life lesson in your life. True simplicity is on the what? Far side of complexity. You have to work your way through the complexity first, and then you can say, yes, I now understand it. It is simple. Because reality is all of life is simple eventually. It goes down to very small jobs. You can build a space shuttle. You just have to do it piece by piece. And it all works. So you are here to learn. Find jobs to do. Look around. When you're in the person's office, find a job that you can do. Pick up the trash. Do something. Do something while you're there. Just try to be helpful. Be practical. So the next B is be practical. Always carry a notebook and pen. I tell my children, I just drill this into my children. If you come to a meeting with me, bring a notebook and a pen. Some of you have it. Some of you are taking notes. Okay? Why? What does that do for me? If I'm your mentor, what does it do for me when you sit down in front of me and you have a notebook and a pen? Tells me you're paying attention. What else? You'll remember it better because it's on paper. Yes, it's a way of honoring your mentor, isn't it? It's a way of saying what you are going to say is important enough for me to actually write it down. And I tell my employees that. I say, if you're coming to a meeting with me, you better have a notebook and pen with you. Because there's probably going to be something that I want you to write down. The other thing from my standpoint, especially as an employer, from my standpoint, is if I tell you do this, and you just have your hands in your lap and you're like, yeah, what kind of confidence do I have that it's going to get done? You're right. Zero. None. Because you didn't write it down. So now I have the added burden of having to go back and check on you to see whether you're actually getting it done or not. So whenever you show up to any place where somebody is going to be there and you're going to be in a meeting, bring a what? It's just simple. Bring a notebook. Take notes no matter what. Make your pen move. This lady over here, I can't see your name tag. I don't think you have a name tag on. You are taking notes the whole time. Now, I don't know if you're doodling and maybe you're writing a letter to somebody. I don't know. But I have noticed that the whole time you've been writing stuff. And that is good. There's another one. It subtly turns it towards me. There you go. See, I took notes too. You can tell he's probably one of the younger ones. You're not the oldest, are you? Yeah. You are the oldest. Okay. All right. So anyway, always draw whatever is drawn. If somebody has a whiteboard here and they draw something up here, draw it on your notes. That'll just help you in college. These are things I learned from study habits in college. And then go over your notes at night. Go over them. If you come back the next day and we have a meeting, we sit down again and and I say, hey, what did you think about everything we talked about yesterday? And you can actually bring just one or two things up and say, well, I really liked the fact that we talked about how to make blue shoes. If you said that to me tomorrow, we won't be here tomorrow, but if you did that to me, I would be like, whoa, I'm going to dump myself into you because you learn. They tell the joke about somebody in Massachusetts where a tourist stops and says, how do I get to highway whatever, 95 or whatever? And the lady sitting on the porch says, well, you go up here to such and such, make a right, go over there, make a right, go over there, make a right. So the tourist goes and goes, jing, 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 ends up right back where they started. They're like, you didn't give me the right directions. I ended up right back where I started. She's like, well, before I was going to tell you the real directions, I wanted to know whether you could follow directions or not. And who knows, your mentor might be doing that. Number 5, be observant. Look around your mentor's office. See what he's got. If you came into my office and you looked at me and you looked at my office, you would find a lot of pictures of my family. Tons of them. Pictures of my family all over the place. What does that tell you? I am. So if you're, and you learn this from sales books, if you're ever into selling or something like that, you want to look at the other person. You want to observe them and see what they've got. Whatever's important to them also will be closer to them. So whatever's closest to them on their desk is probably the most important part of their life. And the stuff that is farthest away from them on their walls and stuff like that is probably the least important. So if you do that, if you walk into a mentor's office like that, and you find that and you look at it, you are way ahead of the game if you can start asking questions about the things that are important. What if you go into an office and they've got a bunch of diplomas all over the back wall? What does that tell you? Okay, they're good at academia. That's one thing. The other thing is, they value knowledge. That's right. So what would you ask them about? What schools did you go to? What did you learn? I see you have a diploma from such and such. I see you have, such and such. You understand what you're doing here? You're starting to look around. You're being observant. You're seeing what's around you, and you're just reflecting that right back to the person. And it's very helpful. The other person says, whoa, this person is interesting. These are life skills that will actually do you good in almost anything you do in life. Okay? So if they have family pictures, you talk about the family. If they have diplomas, you talk about diplomas. What if they have a bunch of awards, like charity awards or, stuff like that? Olympic medals. You're Michael Phelps. That'd be a nice mentor, wouldn't it? If you see medals, you see some medals, you see some trophies, you see something like that, then you see that. Or their kid's Little League trophy or I don't know, something like that. But the point of the matter is you look around. You look at the plaques, the pictures, the certificates. Ask them about their family, their hobbies. Okay, next one. 6, be curious. Ask questions. Ask why questions. If you ask 3 times why, you get at some very interesting truths. What does that mean? Well, I tried to put an example. Unfortunately, the best examples are the ones that come up in regular life. But if somebody says, I like light, well, who doesn't, right? You ask the first why. You say, why do you like light? Okay. And they say, well, so I can see. Then you ask what? Yeah, it's already there, right? You just have to read it. Why do you like to see? Because I like to get things done. Then what's the next question? All right. Do you understand how you're getting into the depth? Now you're finding out about their person. Why do you like to get things done? Because I get a feeling of accomplishment, because I this. It started out with just saying, I like to have light. Now these kind of things are going to come up with a lot of things. You're going to be with your mentor, and he's going to say something straight out, just a statement. And then what you need to do is you come back to him and you say, why? And you think about these 3 whys, okay? Why this? And you're not trying to be a 2-year-old, because 2-year-olds do this really well, right? Okay? But what you want to do is you want to come up with a why do you like that, why, and then why again, and then you'll get down to the root of the problem. And there's a chance that the mentor hasn't even thought about it that much. But it's really good knowledge for you to learn. Really good. So, 3 whys. Number 7, be helpful, be a servant. Take out the trash. You can always do that. There's always something for you to do. Always. Look around, find something to do. This again, all these 10 things are not only for a mentoree, but they're also for just you in general. If you're going to be an employee of somebody, do this. Look around, find something to do. I remember when I left the mission field, I was 26 years old, and I found a job, part-time job, delivering furniture for a furniture store called Sofa City. It was not a glamorous job by any means. And I'm sitting there, and I'd already dusted everything, and I'd cleaned everything that I could, and there weren't any deliveries, and I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, what am I supposed to do now? The guy's paying me by the hour, and I'm sitting here, and I don't really have anything to do. So I go and I find this big, wide broom, and I go out to the parking lot, and I start sweeping the parking lot. Because that's what my mom had taught me. That was the work habits that my mom had given me. Start sweeping the parking lot. The owner comes out and he's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm sweeping the parking lot. I had nothing else to do." I'd already asked him, "Is there anything else for me to do?" And he said, "No." And here I am sweeping the parking lot. And he's like, "Why are you doing that? We have a sweeping company that comes and takes care of the parking lot." And I said, "Because I have nothing else to do." You know what he did? He said, "I wish you were staying." I was going to leave. "I wish you were staying. I would put you in charge of the whole store." What? I'd only been there a few weeks. Why? Why does he put me in charge of the whole store? I'm staying busy. I'm staying busy. There's a book that I have, little tiny book. It says it takes so little to be above average. It's like all you have to do is do a little bit better. You heard about the two hunters, right? And the bear comes running out of the woods. And the two hunters start running away. And one of them stops and he gets his backpack out. And the other hunter says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm changing my shoes. I'm putting on some blue running shoes. Putting on some running shoes." And the other guy says, "Come on, he's coming. Let's go. Don't you know you can't outrun a bear?" He's like, "Yeah, I know I can't run a bear. I just want to outrun you." It takes so little to be above average. It takes so little. Just, can you anticipate need? When I was training my son to work with me, he was just about that tall, and we were building a tree house, and I just told him, I said, "Now watch me, and when I need another screw, just grab the screw and hand it up to me. Watch me," because he'd get distracted and look all over the place, and all that kind of stuff, and then I'd say, "Davey, give me another screw," and then I had him, said, "Anticipate need, watch me and hand me the screw." And to this day, I mean, here he is, 26, 27 years old, and he's my vice president of my company, one of my companies. And to this day, we use that same thing, anticipate need, anticipate need. Watch and see what your mentor is doing. And if he needs to, another cup of coffee, bring it to him. Anticipate the need. Look at him. Try to figure out what it is that he would want. How can you contribute to making your mentor like you? You're like, wow, these are a lot of sort of tricks and stuff. They aren't. It's just being polite, and it's being thoughtful of the other person. So what can you do? So be realistic. Understand the value of what you are getting. How much is this man, woman's time worth? Let's say you came up to me and you said, "Mr. Tucker, could I follow you around for a day? Could you teach me about your business?" And let's say I said yes. Let's say you were going to be with me for 6 hours. Okay? 6 hours. What do you think that would be worth? You're going to be with me for 6 hours. What is that worth in a market? Okay, 6 hours of learning. Let me tell you where I'm coming from. Okay? I run successful businesses. Part of what I do in a business is I do business consulting. Anybody know what that is? That's other people hiring me to tell them how to run their business better. Last time I did it, do you know what I charge? Yes, $300 an hour. That's what I charge my customer. If my customer comes to me and says, "I want 6 hours of your time to come here and tell me how to run my business better," what would the cost be? $1,800. Now you come up to me in church and you say, "Mr. Tucker, can I spend 6 hours with you?" And I say, "Yes, and I'll buy you lunch." What kind of craziness is that? Do you guys understand it? So when you go to this person in your church or something, and you ask them and you say, "Can I spend time with you?" You've got to realize the kind of value you are getting. See, your time isn't worth very much right now, because you're in the education phase of your life. Right now, actually, you're paying for other people to spend time with you. But when you get to the business phase of your life, your time is going to be worth a lot. Hopefully. That's how you make money, by being worth something. So the value that I give to my customer when he pays me $300 an hour is worth more than the $300 that he's paying me. That's how business works. And as long as that remains true, I still have a market. So you have to understand the value of what you're getting when you do this. So that's why I say understand what this man or woman's time is worth. you don't think in terms of time being worth stuff, but it is a lot. So number 9, be appreciative. Write a thank you note. Show that you appreciate. Send a small gift. Offer to help his or her children. You're in here because you have nephews that you want to mentor. It's the same thing. The best compliment you can pay a mentor is that you turn around and mentor somebody that they like. So you mentor their children. You go back there and you say, can I watch your kids for you? I really appreciate what you did. Can I give you some free babysitting? Can I do this? Can I teach them about this in homeschooling? Can I do something for you? That's showing that you're appreciative. It's giving a little bit back to them, saying, I really like you. Ooh. Okay. Number 10, be a mentor. Practice the 10 B's and teach them to others. So the biggest compliment you can do to a mentor is you turn around and you become a mentor for somebody else. And you take them alongside. Like who? How many of you guys have younger siblings? All right. Isn't it hard to teach them, to bring them alongside and say, I'll teach you how to do this? Isn't that hard? Somebody admit it. Somebody say yes. You lose patience, don't you? You're trying to teach, maybe it's your sister. You're trying to teach your sister how to catch a ball or how to hit a ball with a bat. And what do? You lose patience. You're like, it's not that hard. You just do it. Well, what do you think this 50-year-old guy is thinking about you? But that's how you practice mentorship, is you turn around and you give it away to somebody else. So here's one person came up to me and asked if they could spend, I think it was a week. Can't remember if it was a week or 2 weeks. Said, could they come and could they spend a week or 2 weeks with me? And so we went and we picked them up. We picked them up at the airport, brought them over to our house, fed them, took care of them, took them in to work every day. His father wrote me back a year later. Said, I wanted to jot a note and thank you for the work you put into my son. His 2 entrepreneurial endeavors have materialized and are providing him with a decent income. Currently, he's also working full-time as a software engineer at a local company, keeping 3 different efforts going at the same time. Obviously push him pretty hard, but he is maturing fast. He also leads a Bible study at a rest home every Sunday morning. Seems to enjoy a little ministry work on the side. We're thankful for what God has done in his life. I know that your mentorship has been a huge help. Thanks, Dave. Wow. I get something like that because us dads need to stick together. We need to help each other. And that's what can happen. And this person was willing to come and ask me, can I come and live at your house for a week and just learn from you? And then we had the results. That's what happened. So what do you do? Well, the answer is go and do likewise. Remember the guy who opened his Bible to do devotions? He thought, God, lead me to what I need to do. You remember that? And he opens his first verse, he opens the Bible and he puts his finger down with his eyes closed and then he looks at it. And the verse says, and Judas went and hanged himself. It's like, oh. I've got to try that again. So he opens up his Bible again, says, go thou and do likewise. Whoa. Closes the Bible, opens it up again, puts his finger down and says, whatsoever thou doest, doest thou quickly. Oh, well. Bible jokes. When is baseball first mentioned in the Bible? In the beginning, that's right. Tennis? Joseph in Pharaoh's court, that's right. That's right. Who was the shortest man in the Bible? Nehemiah? No, the Shuhite. No, Shuhite is smaller than, there you go. All right. Know your Bible, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. He's the smallest. Yeah, that's right. Oh, who is the other person to not have, who is the other person to not have parents except for Adam and Eve? Yes, Joshua, the son of Nun. All right. All right, anyway, that's not why we came here. Okay, books. Here's some good books. There's a book called Quitter by John Acuff. I would highly recommend it. If you're interested in mentorship, you're interested in life and stuff like that, that's a really good book. Quitter. And the Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's great. Now they've got a plethora of them. There's got 7 habits for families, 7 habits for teenagers, 7 habits for... Anyway, the bottom line is he says develop your character, which is what we're all about, guys. That's what Scripture is all about. No, Covey's not a Christian. He was a Mormon. He believes in God now because he's passed on. That's what my dad always said when somebody would die. He's like, well, he believes in God now, you know. But it's a good book. It has biblical principles in it. And there it is. So the three whys. Okay, well, we're done. Let's end in prayer. Lord, thank you very much for these young people. I thank you that they're interested enough to learn about how to be a mentoree, and I pray that you would give them a mentor for each one of them in their lives that they can learn from. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Noah Conference audio series sponsored by Generations. For more resources for defending the Christian faith, including family discipleship resources and an online daily radio broadcast, please visit generations.org.